The first one is pan comido. Esto es pan comido. Eaten bread? Do we say that, Chris, or what?
We don't. We do use a type of food. We say a piece of cake. Yeah, I think in Spanish, un trozo de pastel, I think would be the direct translation. Obviously, pan comido is the actual translation, but yeah, a piece of cake.
Perfect. That's the first one. Let's do two more. And the next one is very similar in English and Spanish. And it's a way of saying, like, it's your decision or it's your responsibility now. In Spanish, you would say, La pelota está en tu tejado. Like, the ball is on your roof. But, Chris, we don't say that in English, do we? Hola a todos y bienvenidos otra vez a Inglés Británico Podcast. I'm Lewis, and my co-host over there is Chris. So let's get started. Chris, how are you?
I'm really good, thanks, mate. Yeah, I've got quite a funny anecdote for you and our listeners today.
Okay.
So I found out last week. I found out last week that I have technically been living illegally in Spain. I'm exaggerating.
Been
My
living
resident.
illegally in Spain.
I was an illegal immigrant. No, I'm obviously exaggerating. My residency, I imagine you have the same thing. My TA, Tarjeta Identidad de Extranjero. My residency ran out like 3 weeks ago, and I didn't realize. So last week I had to go to the police station, the comisaria, the police station. And it was really funny. My number was called. I walked to the desk. The guy looked up and just went, Brexit? Brexit.
Pussy.
He's like,
Pussy.
sit down, we'll sort you out, don't worry. So yeah, now just in case we have any immigration officers watching this podcast, it has been renewed. So I am now officially legal until 2035. I have 10 more years of residency in Spain. So yeah, that was my week last week. Lots of red tape, which is a fantastic expression, bureaucratic processes, lots of red tape. But yeah, that was my weekend. How about you? How was your week last week? How was your weekend?
Okay, well, it sounds interesting. A nice little anecdote. And luckily, he was friendly and he let you off, you know? He forgave you. And you also used a couple of phrasal verbs. You said that your residency ran out. So there was no more time. It expired, essentially. And you also said, well, he sorted it out, meaning that
Oh,
he resolved it. So 3 phrasal verbs already get started. And
yeah. Oh, I didn't even realize I was using them. That's how natural they are for us. Yeah.
you see, I'm all ears. When you said you had this strange anecdote, I was like, ooh, all right, I'm going to listen in, and I'm all ears, which is in Spanish, soy todo oídos. I'm listening to you. But anyway, returning to my week, it's been cold. Here in Brussels, it's been cold, it's been chilly, it's been a bit nippy, and I think it even reached like 0 degrees. There was
Wow.
morning when I woke up and, you know, it had snowed, but not a lot. So, a nice verb here. The snow settled, meaning that it stayed on the ground, but only for a few hours and then it melted away. So, if snow settles, I think in Spanish you say cuajar. So, the snow settled. It stayed on the ground, but not for very long. But given that it's been so cold, I didn't do a lot. I went shopping. I bought a couple of thermal tops, like they
Preparing. Yeah.
nice and warm because I like going out for a run and I'm trying to get back into running. But if it's 0 degrees, then my nipples are just going to fall off because
Yeah.
they're going to freeze off. So to prevent that, I bought a couple of thermal tops and I had a relaxing weekend, to be honest. It was nice and chill.
Nice. Do you live by the coast? I think I've asked you this question before, but do you live by the coast?
No, no. So Brussels is it's not too far away from the coast, but it's in the center of Belgium, which of course is a very, very small country. But if we want to go to the coast by train, it's like an hour and a half. So it's
Okay.
doable. But of course, Belgian beaches are not the same as
It's because
Spanish.
yeah. Well, no, so I was asking because obviously I think I'm not 100% on this, and a really good expression, don't quote me on this, like, no diga los otros, Chris me dijo blah, blah, no, don't quote me on this. Hay una frase en español traducido, don't quote me on this. I mean, yo lo expliqué en español, pero no sé la traducción, si hay una.
Possibly, if anybody knows the translation,
Yeah,
let us know in the comments. I'm sure there is one, but it's
yeah.
basically saying, like, don't believe me 100%. Do your
Yeah,
own research.
exactly. I heard this, so I'm not sure if it's true. But apparently, the salt from the ocean, the wind, is one of the reasons that snow doesn't settle. So, growing up in Brighton, we had snow, but as you mentioned, maybe 1 or 2 hours, and then later it was all gone and it became slush, which is when if anyone drinks something slushies, slushies, yeah, slush is ice but water, like a mixture of ice and water. Yeah, so but I think it's because of the salt water and the coastal wind. Again, don't quote me on this, but that's why I was curious. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like saying, I might be wrong, but I think that might be the case. But Brussels is relatively close to the coast, but it's not super, super close. And to
yeah,
be honest, I think nowadays snow is just less common. And when it does snow, it'll only snow a little bit. So it rarely settles. And if it
yeah,
does, it's often melted by the next day, either because temperatures will rise or because it might start raining and it'll just wash
yeah.
all away.
And I imagine industry plays a part or plays a factor, which is has an important effect. I imagine industry pollution; these can't be good for thick white snow. No, it normally makes it melt, and yeah.
Exactly. It's a shame, but
Again, don't quote me on that. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a what do you call weather people? Like the correct term, the climatologist? No, a meteorologist. Meteor.
that's it.
I'm not a meteorologist, so please don't quote me on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, I didn't realize, Chris, that you were such an expert in this topic. Like, who knew? We've spoken that you're not that into some kind of business or finance, but if I had known, I would have asked you, like, oh, Chris, what's your passion? And maybe you would have said, I love the weather.
Do you know what it is? I love coastal cities. So that's what it is. I've grown up never having settled snow. I see snow, but very rarely do I have that experience that we see in movies or sitcoms where it's just white, like a sheet of white on the ground. A few times in my life, yes, but not that many, to be honest.
Great. Now, let's get started with today's topic, which is all about expressions, about idioms that are commonly used in English. We'll go over some of our favorites or some of the ones that we hear the most or that we use the most. But I just want to highlight something that you said here because you use an inversion. And inversions are really, really tricky to master in English. And it's a way of emphasizing what you're saying. And if anybody watching this or listening to this is thinking about doing an IELTS exam or a Cambridge exam, inversions are quite important just to be able to, let's say, show off and
Yeah.
demonstrate what you're able to do. Because you said, rarely have I seen the snow, or rarely do I see the snow. And a little mini class is that when we use phrases like rarely, hardly ever,
Yeah.
never,
Seldom. Yeah.
seldom, all of these kind of negative connectors, we can use an inversion, which is like question structure. So, do I have? That's a question. Do I have money? No. So basically, you use one of these negative connectors and then you follow it with a question structure. Another common one is never have I ever seen the snow. Hardly ever do I see the snow. And
Yeah, a really common one. Under no circumstances should you drink and drive is a really common one. Under no circumstances should you drink and drive.
exactly. And again, if you're thinking if it's correct or not, ask yourself the question. Like, should you drink or drive? Ah, correct. Question form. Therefore, it's the correct inversion form because the way that an inversion is created is by inverting the order from normal sentence structure to question structure. So that's a little inversion masterclass in just a minute
Yeah.
or two.
I'm glad you mentioned the exams as well, because I know very, very well in the Cambridge part 4 of the use of English, where you have to change the sentences. Para cualquier persona que no conozca el examen, lo siento, no tenéis ninguna idea lo que estoy hablando, pero los que han hecho el examen, yeah, part 4, the keyword transformation, very, very common to have an inverted sentence. There's always at least one negative inversion under no circumstances, rarely, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Exactly, 100%. But now let's move on. And I've got a few Spanish expressions in my mind. And Chris, I want you to tell me the English translation. Don't worry, they're going to be relatively common ones. So
Good. Yeah.
the first one is pan comido. Ah, esto es pan comido. Eaten bread? Do we say that, Chris, or what?
We don't. We do use a type of food. We say a piece of cake. Yeah, I think in Spanish, un trozo de pastel, I think would be the direct translation. Obviously, pan comido is the actual translation, but yeah, a piece of cake.
Perfect. That's the first one. Let's do two more. And the next one is very similar in English and Spanish. And it's a way of saying, like, it's your decision or it's your responsibility now. In Spanish, you would say, La pelota está en tu tejado. Like, the ball is on your roof. But, Chris, we don't say that in English, do we?
No, we say the ball is in your court. Court meaning cancha. If anybody would like a visual representation, think about tennis. I hit the ball to your side of the court. So now it's your action. It's your turn to make a decision, to do an action. The ball is in your court.
Fantastic. So we have a piece of cake, pan comida. We have the ball is in your court, la pelota está en tu tejado. And then the last one is again fairly similar between Spanish and English. You see, in English, if you want to say that something is very, very expensive, you could say that it costs an arm and a leg.
I love the dedication there. Yeah.
But in Spanish, are you familiar with the translation?
Yes and no. It's costar un ojo de la cara, I think. Oh, yeah, it is. Okay. I knew it was ojo, but I didn't know the next. It was like costar un ojo. Yeah, de la cara. Yeah.
Bravo, bravo. And another one has just come to mind because you got 3 out of 3. You got it exactly right. So I often respond then to my students that, ah, you nailed it, which is lo has clavado. You nailed it, which comes from the longer expression. What is it? You hit the nail on the head, which is dar en el clavo. Has dado en el clavo. You hit the nail on the head, or we shorten it to you nailed it, mate.
Yeah, I think it's important to just mention, obviously, nail for anybody listening. Yes, is also uña. We can say nail for uña, your fingernail, or as Lewis mentioned, the clavo is also a nail. Yeah,
Perfect. Well, that's a
you
nice
nailed
way.
it, mate. You nailed it.
Likewise. So that's a nice way of getting into the topic. Now, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to take it in turns to go over some expressions, some phrases that we like and we use. So the first one, the ball is in your court, Chris.
So, thank you very much. Obviously, we did a podcast episode about phrasal verbs. So, maybe some of our viewers or listeners will be familiar with look forward to. If you're a positive person like me, this is a very common, well, I want to say expression, phrasal verb. It's very commonly used because it means tener ganas de, to be excited about something in the future. I'm looking forward to the weekend. I'm looking forward to Christmas. If we use a verb, we use the verb in ing. I'm looking forward to sleeping tonight. Even something so minor. I'm tired. I'm looking forward to sleeping later. For me, this is very, very common. I don't know if this is also one of your most commonly used expressions, phrasal verbs.
Yeah, I mean, of course, technically it is a phrasal verb, but a lot of the time we do mix up and combine phrasal verbs and expressions. And look forward to is so important, and people make so many mistakes when they're using look forward to because they forget to use ing. The amount of times that people will say, I'm looking forward to go, or I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to do, and every time I have to say, whoa, 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 whoa. Hold your horses. Nice expression. I say, hold your horses, mate, which in Spanish is like, para el carro, which is
I
like,
didn't know that.
stop the carriage. Hold your horses because we need look forward to plus ing. So I'm looking forward to going to Gijón in a few
Yeah.
weeks.
Exactly. Obviously, we can use the noun as well for anyone thinking, oh, I'm looking forward to Christmasing. No, Christmas is a noun, so we can say, yeah, Christmas. But as Lewis perfectly mentioned, yeah, any verbs, we need to use the ing structure. So I'm looking forward to the next common expression, Lewis.
Okay, well, my pleasure. I will do the honors. And the next one is give it a go. You could also say give it a try. You could also say give it a shot. And
Yeah.
it's a nice alternative to try it. Like maybe you've never done something and you're a bit nervous. So it's common for someone to say, hey, give it a go, give it a try, give it a shot. And I use it in class quite a lot
Yeah.
as well. Maybe if we're reviewing different phrases or students are not sure exactly how to use an inversion, I'll be like, hey, give it a go, you know?
Yeah.
It's the worst that could happen. So it's just like, inténtalo, pruébalo. So it's just give it a go. For example, I've never done yoga, but I'll give it a go, or at least I want to give it a go. Whether I do, that's another.
Yeah.
Um, Chris, have you ever given yoga a go?
I've never given yoga a go. I don't think I really want to give yoga a go. However, I do want to give, what's it called? Fit boxing a go. I want to give fit boxing a go because the idea of boxing intrigues me for the exercise and the health, but I don't want to punch someone and I don't want to be punched. So I think fit boxing, I think it's just against a bag, a punching bag. So I'd love to give that a go. That's meaning fit boxing. Yeah, I'd love to give fit boxing a go. Have you ever given fit boxing a go?
I actually have. And it's funny that you ask this and you bring it up, that you introduce this topic, because I can't remember exactly when it was, but I think it was maybe the year after the pandemic when I still lived in Sevilla and I still worked for Teachify, where we met and worked together for about a year. And one of our team building activities when there were only 5 of us working for the company was to go to this company called Brooklyn Fit Boxing. And
Yeah.
we went there, and you have lots of boxing bags that you have to kind of work on some choreography, almost like a dance, but a workout as well, which involves punching, kicking, doing core exercises. And I think it's fun and it's useful to stay in shape and to stay fit, but it's not my thing. It's not my bag because I have very bad coordination. I
Yeah,
have
it's not your cup of tea.
It's not my cup of tea. It's not my bag. It's not my thing. And I'm not very good at it either because me and coordination for like dance related things, we don't go hand in hand. Expression ir de la mano is go hand in hand. So music and coordination don't go hand in hand because I've got 2 left feet. It means that I'm a terrible dancer. But by all means, Chris, give it a go.
Well, no, now I don't want to give it a go because I'm the same as you. I have no coordination or any kind of rhythm. So maybe I shouldn't give it a go. But maybe we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. Let's see. Let me know if you do anyway. And how about we move on to the next one? So I believe, Chris, again, over to you.
Thank you. Yeah. So keep an eye on. I think I do use this expression quite a lot, but I think if any of our listeners are parents or even maybe pet owners, pet dog parents or cat parents, then this is a very common expression because it just means echar un ojo a vigilar, not like the whole time, like just staring at you. No, just making sure that it is safe. It could be a bag, like the example in the summer, very common. If you go to the beach on your own, the person next to you, hey, can you just keep an eye on my bag while I go for a swim? It doesn't mean literally watch it, but just make sure nobody steals anything. It's just a really good expression. So, for any parents, as I mentioned, you have to keep an eye on your kids. When you're
Mm.
in the park with them, maybe you're on your phone, but you've got to keep an eye on them. You need to make sure that they're okay. So, yeah, keep an eye on my bag. I need to keep an eye on my kids. Yeah, I think for parents, I think it's a very, very common one. I don't know if there's many contexts where you would use this expression, Lewis.
I mean, I again brought up the fact that I like finance and I like kind of stocks and stuff like that. So, something that I have been doing a lot is keeping an eye on my trading app because, of course, I have invested a little bit of money in the stock market. And now everybody is talking about maybe there is an AI bubble around the corner. If something is around the corner, by the way, it is a la vuelta de la esquina, meaning that it could happen in the near future. So I'm getting a bit scared. So when I check my app, I am keeping an eye on the value. I'm keeping an eye on the fluctuations of the stock market. That's another random example.
I like that. Yeah.
Say,
I think Instagram as well is another very, very common one. I'm keeping an eye on my followers. Not every minute of every day, but just have I grown? Have I lost followers? We mentioned last week we like to keep an eye on our videos as well. Just how many views, how many likes? Okay, cool. It's just vigilar or echar un ojo to keep an eye on something. Again, I think if you're a parent, very, very common to keep an eye on your kids when they're playing is the most common context to use this, I think.
no, agreed for sure. All right, let's move on then. And this one is so familiar. In Spanish, you would say, me suena. Or maybe as a question, I would ask you, like, ¿te suena? ¿Te suena la canción? ¿Te suena el nombre? Sí, 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 me suena el nombre, pero no lo sé. So we don't say, it sounds to me. We
Very
never,
common, though. I hear that a lot, yeah,
we never really
from
use
students.
the verb to sound. Of course, it does exist in English, but we hardly use it for anything. You could say that something makes a sound, but if something sounds, eh, we can only really
Yeah.
use it if you say that something sounds familiar, which is an alternative translation for me suena. So, oh yeah, sounds familiar. But the expression that most native English speakers use is ding, ding, ding. It
Yeah.
rings a bell. Or does it ring a bell? So, oh, that song really rings a bell. And I love this expression.
Yeah.
And it's one that is relatively easy, in my opinion. But I still hear some people saying, it sounds. Yeah, it sounds me. But no, it rings a bell.
Yeah, in the negative as well. Yeah. Oh, do you know this film? No, it doesn't ring a bell. It doesn't ring a bell. Like, no me suena. It doesn't ring a bell. Yeah, I agree with you. This is a really common one. It rings a bell. Yeah, it sounds familiar. It rings a bell, but I can't remember the actor. But the film, it rings a bell. Yeah.
And just a bonus one, which is related to this, if maybe you say, oh, it rings a bell, it's en la punta de la lengua, which kind of, it's related to, it sounds familiar. In Spanish, you might say, oh, I know it. It's on the tip of my tongue, which is a way to say está en la punta de la lengua. Like, you know it, you want to say it, but you can't exactly make the sound. So,
Yeah.
suena, it rings a bell, and en la punta de la lengua is on the tip of my tongue. Cool. On to the next one,
So,
Chris.
So, to be worth it, again, as teachers, maybe this is the example sentence is one of the most common sentences I think I've used, yeah, in my life. Well, in my adult professional life, yeah. But irrelevant of my experiences, yeah, to be worth it is valer la pena. So, English is worth it. English vale la pena, or it's worth y importante un verbo con ing. It's worth learning English to get jobs or things like this. So maybe not necessarily to be worth it as a fixed expression, but more just the verb worth, I think is really, really useful in English. Say, it is worth it, or learning English is worth it, or going to the gym is worth it, or it's worth exercising, or it's worth working out at the gym. Really, really good expression just to mean it's good. Like, it's good for you. It's worth it. It might be difficult. It might be time consuming, but it will have a positive result. It will be worth it, or in the past, it was worth it. So, not necessarily a fixed expression, but I wanted to include it just because I think it's such an important verb. And again, maybe one that I personally hear a lot of mistakes from students. I don't know if you as well. It's a very common verb to be mistaken.
No, I agree for sure. And it's just a very common thing that we use in normal conversations. As a question, I will ask this so many times like, oh, yeah, you spent 50 quid on, I don't know, some noodles? Was it worth it? Or
50
you
quid on noodles. Where the hell are you buying your noodles, mate?
It was just off the top of my head, an
Yeah.
example. I would never ever pay 50 quid for some noodles because I don't think it's worth it. I often reference the fact that I'm a very, very stingy guy. So I'm a tight fisted person. So for me, spending money on food, if it is more than 20 quid, whew, that's
Yeah.
already difficult that it's going to be worth it.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. Obviously, you're like, oh, I need to think of an example. I need to. It's just the way that your brain connected. 50 quid. Ah, Lewis, think of something that's worth 50 noodles. It's like, "Oh, yeah, okay.
It's not worth it. It's definitely not worth it. But yeah, that's what I said off the top of my head, which is a nice phrase. I think in Spanish you could say like a bote pronto or de bote pronto, but maybe it's more common to just translate it as like sin pensarlo mucho.
Yeah.
So off the top of my head, I came up with this random example, but it's a funny one. And now let's move on. I think we're on our last couple. And here we have up in the air. To be up in the air. It's all up in the air. If something is up in the air, it means that it's uncertain. It's not decided. Está en el aire. No está decidido. So I don't know where I'm going to go for my honeymoon next year. I was having a look last night. I was looking on Ryanair, Skyscanner, keeping an eye on the prices to see if it's worth flying to Costa Rica. But I've got these ideas, but at the moment, to be honest, everything is up in the air. We don't know what's going to happen, and it's a bit uncertain. Chris, is there anything about you or your life that is up in the air at the moment?
Everything. My whole life is
Everything.
up in the air. But I completely agree with you. I think traveling is a very common topic of conversation where we would use to be up in the air because we have these travel plans and destinations in our head, but they're not fixed plans. So it's up in the air. One day I'm going to New York, but it's up in the air when I don't have a flight or anything. It's up in the air, but it is an intention I have. I think in the professional workplace as well, I think the project's up in the air, the deadlines are up in the air. Is this, I mean, for me as a teacher, this normally comes up in one of my professional English classes. I don't know if it's the same for you.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's probably more of a professional conversation or businessy conversation, but it could be used in anything, to be honest, in my
Oh,
opinion.
totally. Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's that kind of I'm not sure. So that's why my life is up in the air because like when you go to England, oh I don't know, it's up in the air at the moment. When are you back for Christmas? Oh, it's up in the air. Like I just have no fixed plans. I normally make the plan the day before, so it's up in the air until the actual event.
Always leaving it till the last moment, the last minute.
Yeah.
Classic. But there we have the main expressions that we've been going over, teaching, and we've decided to review this week. But obviously, there are thousands of expressions in English. And if you follow us on Instagram or you watch our YouTube shorts, you'll see that almost every day we teach you different expressions and new expressions. So today we decided just to review some random expressions. I'm sure we'll make this a feature of I always forget the name of the Inglés Britannico Podcast.
That's the one.
So this will be a feature of this podcast moving forward that maybe once a month, maybe once every couple of months, we'll decide to review some more common expressions in English because honestly, the list goes on and on and on. But now let's finish off. And to finish off, you know the drill. You know what happens. It's joke time. So
Yeah.
Chris, have you got any funny jokes for us?
So I came prepared this week. Last week I was a bit unprepared, but this week I came prepared. So I imagine Forrest Gump is the same in Spanish, Forrest Gump or something, or Forrest Gump. So what is Forrest Gump's Wi-Fi password?
I know it.
Oh, you know it. Okay,
One, Forest, one!
one, Forrest, one. It's brilliant. I love it. Yeah, I really thought that would be an original one that you hadn't heard before, but no, yeah,
I've
one,
heard a
Forrest,
lot.
one.
But wait, why? Could you explain it? One, Forest, one?
Yeah, so I imagine if you watch that film dubbed into Spanish, it would be corre, Forest, corre. But in English, run. Obviously, the imperative, run, Forest, run. So one, run. Obviously, we have the rhyming there, the words that sound similar, and a one name, like one Chris one is a very common password, unfortunately. If anyone's watching this, don't make that your password because it's so obvious to guess. But yeah, one, Forest, one, run, Forest, one. It's great.
It's funny because now you've just revealed your password to everybody. So quickly after we record, you need to change it. But we'll see you next time. A pleasure. And yeah, don't forget to like this podcast. Bye bye.